Let's go live now here in the studio. I've got the Minister for International Development and the Pacific, Zed Seselja, who's also, of course, one of the senators for the Australian Capital Territory, which goes into lockdown in 45 minutes. Have you got any news for us in relation to federal government support for those workers and businesses affected?
Yeah, I do, Kieran. So a couple of things. One, the Commonwealth hotspot declaration is now applying to Canberra. So that means that those payments to workers who will lose hours in the coming week will apply. So 20 hours or more, $750, $450 between 8 and 20 hours, and those on income support who have lost 8 hours or more, $200 payments. So what I would say to people in the ACT who might be losing hours as a result of the lockdown, make sure your MyGov details are up to date because that account will be important. Check the Services Australia website for some of the details, and then in a week's time you'll be able to apply and that'll then be paid in arrears for the hours that you've lost based on those thresholds.
Do you think the Chief Minister was right to announce a lockdown as quickly as he has?
Well, look, I think the Chief Minister, like all leaders, is dealing with a rapidly evolving situation and he's got to make the calls as he sees fit. Obviously, Delta has changed the game a bit in terms of how quickly it spreads. So, look, my hope is that, firstly, that Canberrans will follow the orders that have been set down, follow the rules, stay at home unless you have the good reasons not to stay at home according to the rules, and hopefully then in 7 days' time we'll be out of lockdown. That would be my hope. Also, I'd just encourage people, we've got good rates of vaccination at the moment here in Canberra. I'd encourage people to continue that if they haven't been vaccinated, to get out there, take this opportunity over the next 7 days if they're eligible. We're over 50% for first doses. Be good to see that continue as it would right around the country.
Now, you're also the Minister for the Pacific and International Development. Hundreds of thousands of doses have been going out over recent days. Give us an update of where our support for the Pacific family, as the Prime Minister calls it, is at in that sense.
Yeah, it continues to ramp up. So as of this afternoon, with the shipment going to Fiji, we'll have delivered around 1.6 million doses into the Pacific. Much of that has come in Fiji, over 800,000 doses, but we also saw a very significant shipment of 300,000 doses to Timor-Leste this week, and I know that was very well received. Both Timor-Leste and Fiji have been dealing with pretty significant outbreaks. They are doing a pretty good job, I think, in getting their populations vaccinated, but they have significant caseloads at the moment. So we're working very closely with them to get those doses there. We're also provided more support. So in Fiji's case, we've had a number of AUSMAT teams there on the ground. That support, I think, has been really critical in helping coordinate the responses. But we'll continue to do more, but it's pretty significant milestones this week, and the 1.6 million doses so far, I think, has been very well received and is very important.
Those nations have been smashed, as you know, by this triple whammy of the pandemic, of course, but then the economic impact of that, and also climate change is a huge issue for them. Do you believe that they are listening to what the government is saying in terms of climate response? They want the Morrison government to do more, don't they, off the back of that IPCC report? Well,
I think when I speak with my Pacific counterparts, one of the things that we always do is we always listen, and the PM has made it very clear that we understand and share many of their concerns around the impacts of climate change, and we do a lot to respond to that. We don't just respond through global action, through doing our bit at twice the rate of the OECD nations and rapid uptake of renewable energy, but we also do our bit by helping them on the ground as they adapt to climate change as well. So we've seen hundreds of millions of dollars of Commonwealth government support, Australian government support going to nations in the Pacific. So we do our bit well ahead of the average for the OECD, but we also work very closely to respond to their particular needs on the ground.
Do you recognise, though, that they want more ambition at those climate talks coming up in November? They want to see more ambition. I know that's the argument from the government, that's the track record, but this is about the next 10 years, or what Joe Biden says is the decisive decade. Are you getting that message from them?
Well, we certainly hear their messages, and we are being ambitious, and we want to continue to be ambitious. I mean, even if we look ahead to our 2030 target, that's per capita 50% reduction. That is amongst the highest per capita reductions in the world. So, you know, if you're cutting your emissions per person in half, that is a major step forward in the next decade. So we are being ambitious. We'll continue to do what we can. We'll continue to see a great investment in the technologies of the future.
But that 2030 target, that's a pre-Paris target. All the other major allies, the OECD, the G7 particularly, but if you look at other comparable nations, they've all upped their ambition. The Pacific neighbours will expect us to do the same.
Well, what I would say, Kieran, is some of those countries who have upped their ambition have not reached their targets. And so it's well and good to have targets, but it's also really, really important you meet them. And the Fijian Attorney General made that point this week, where he said countries should be held to account to not only make targets, but meet and beat them. And that's exactly what we're doing. So we are setting ambitious targets, but unlike many other countries, we're actually meeting and beating them.
So in terms of that support we spoke about of the vaccines, broader economic support for the region as well, how important is it for you as a Liberal Member of Parliament as well, locally, whether it's in Australia or in the region, to counter misinformation and false claims like we saw yesterday from George Christensen in Parliament saying masks don't work?
Yeah, look, well, I think the Parliament's made its views clear, and I support that. I mean, I think it is important. Look, we as a government have made our position on combating COVID very, very clear. We've taken the health advice, we've responded rapidly to it. We believe that vaccinations are critically important, and all sorts of other measures are important for protecting the community.
Minister for International Development and the Pacific, Zed Seselja, appreciate your time as always.